Hello there, everybody. I'm Ross Pitt Shark Hunter.
And I'm Steve.
Okay, this is Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. On this majestic episode, we're going to be reading the Celestia Code, Chapters 7 and 8. We're almost halfway through, that's a lie. So, last time on the Celestia Code, the Twilight was blown away by the realization that Celestia has been depicted as a tyrant in stuff before.
Hey, that's right.
Yeah, I'm like slightly remembering it, but you know, my brain is trying to block out the memory of Celestia ever being depicted as such. Oh God. But anyways. So yeah, Twilight and Jigsaw's adventures have come to something. I can't remember where we left off, I'll be honest. Lord knows Wizzy over here is no help.
Yeah, that's true. I don't remember any better than he does.
Perhaps we should have, like, I don't know, what's it called? Like, check the episode first to see what it was or something like that. I think they just had like a conversation or something is basically what it was. Clearly invested in the story, am I?
Oh yeah, that's right. There was all this happening. I'm reading the past chapter and it ended with like her taking a Jigsaw flying, and then they were like going to sleep. And then she was like, I raised a shield around us, giving it about a half a day of magic charge. It turned out to be a very good thing I did so. Nice cliffhanger. Yeah, they were just decoding these glyphs that were like talking about how Celestia's a tyrant and whatnot.
Okay. Brilliant. But we ready? You got your voices in order?
Rightio.
Fantastic. I will probably remember what Twilight's is. The Celestia Code by Esau. Chapter 7. Explanations. Chapter 7. Explanations. It says it twice. I was trying to get things organized and not making much progress. The desk was covered with books, scrolls, notepads, inkwells, quills, bottles, pen knives, pencils, and loose paper, all scattered around in complete disorder. I tried sorting the items first, but the pages of loose paper slid off onto the floor, and the cups of quills and pencils kept tripping over and spilling. The towers of books wobbled and fell, and I couldn't seem to use my magic correctly, causing mid-air collisions more often than not. In the midst of this chaos, I was interrupted by Luna. Shit. Who entered the dingy room and nodded to the desk.
Is that me?
Fuck. What was Luna's voice? I can't remember.
God.
Oh, God.
I think...
We messed up. We should have made a list.
I think that was me, and I think I did a cool voice.
Hold on. Let me skim through this. 1 second. Oh, my God. Okay. Nope. Okay, here we go. Yes, you were Luna, and you kind of went like this, which I thought was the Celestia voice, but never mind.
So I just kind of had like a Valley Girl voice?
Kind of like that, yeah. So you know me in the last episode?
Yeah.
That.
Oh.
Except a bit less. In the midst of this chaos, I was interrupted by Luna, who entered the dingy room and nodded to the desk.
The dingy room?
Dingy, I'm pretty sure.
I know. I just like reading that as dingy.
The dingy room.
I ken thou hast received a rare gift, Twilight Sparkle.
What? I looked back at the desk and saw a small porcelain figurine of a unicorn resting on a stack of books. Even with my limited sense for fine art, I could tell that it was beautifully made. The lively pose conveyed the energy and grace of the young sky blue and yellow mare, and the glaze was perfect and luminous. Ah, yes, the glaze of that donut.
Oh,
Mm-mm-mm.
Ross is so hungry.
Could go for a donut right now. As I admired it, the books underneath shifted and the figurine tumbled off the stack. I barely caught it before it hit the stone floor. I tried to find a clear spot to set it down, but the desk was completely covered in research materials. I went to settle it on another stack of books, but that one toppled even before I had let go of the figurine. So I hurriedly snatched it back. One of the books that had fallen from the stack hit the corner of the desk and bounced, heading straight for the open fireplace. I reached out for it with my magic, but the figurine wobbled in my grasp, threatening to slip away. "No!" I cried in frustration, watching the book collide with the burning logs and begin to smolder. Ooh, that was just a...
Canst thou not properly care for this gift?
Canst thou not properly? Luna inquired, with a regally lifted eyebrow. Yes, I insisted. I just need to make some room. There doesn't seem to be any place to keep it.
'Tis a treasure beyond price, twilight sparkle. Thou must keep it safe from harm.
I know, I just...
If there be no place, then thou must make a place.
Luna's eyes grew huge and lambent, and her magic lifted a great pile of books and paper off the desk and moved it towards the fire. No! The mass stopped moving, and Luna turned her glowing stare on me.
Make a place or reject it. Twilight sparkle. High or low, close or distant, thou must decide.
I don't know.
Decide.
I can't.
Decide.
Her thunderous voice caused the towers of books and papers to come crashing down, burying me beneath the avalanche. I woke with a start, tossing my blanket to one side and sitting up fast enough to make my head spin. The fire had died to embers, leaving the rotunda a dim landscape of shadows and red highlights. I looked over to where Jigsaw lay, still asleep, and saw the faintest glimmer of starlight. Starlight glimmer? She's my favorite. Besides Spike and Rainbow Dash. And Sunset, if you count that. And saw the faintest glimmer of starlight in a Nimbus 2000 surrounding her.
What?
Nimbus 2000 is a Harry Potter thing. I gritted my teeth. It seemed Her Majesty of the Moon was in a mood to meddle.
Oh,
So,
I forgot that she could go into dreams. I'm so bad at being a My Little Pony stan.
Yeah, you're the worst at it. I think you should really watch the show more.
Yeah, but I can't. I told you.
Yeah, you're right. You see, everyone, My Little Pony actually killed Wizzy's parents. It was hard on everyone. May they rest in peace. Anyways, I gritted my teeth. It seemed Her Majesty of the Moon was in a mood to meddle. At least Jigsaw didn't seem to be having a nightmare. She smiled and murmured in her sleep, moved her legs slightly, not at all like she was in a dream of running, and once she stretched out like a lazy cat in front of a fire.
Aww.
Kitty! Luna's little dream nudge had been pretty ham-hoofed, as far as I was concerned. Did she really think I had any romantic interest in Jigsaw? Pff, what? No. I thought I had made myself clear. Jigsaw had become a good friend, and as such, I was certainly going to make room for her in my life. As I was often in Canterlot, not to mention guest lecturing at the university, I would have had ample opportunities to visit her. And when we were apart, we could exchange letters about books, archaeology, whatever interested us. It all came together quite neatly, I had decided. I retrieved my blanket and went through some breathing exercises designed to relax me enough to go back to sleep. Oh, that's nice. Ooh, maybe I should try some of these breathing exercises.
Hey.
I cannot get to sleep before 5 o'clock anymore.
Ross.
Somebody kill me. I was wondering if there was a spell that was the mental equivalent of a do not disturb sign when I finally drifted off. Just place a sock. I stretched and sat up slowly, feeling surprisingly well rested. I opened my eyes, and for a second, I had no idea what I was looking at. Then my brain finally processed the unexpected images and returned a verdict. Changelings. Hundreds of them. They had us completely surrounded, nearly blocking out the morning light. Oh, come on, Luna, I yelled. Would you please knock it off? There came an eerie susurration of changeling laughter from beyond my shield, but no appearance from Luna. I was suddenly horribly sure that I wasn't dreaming. Well, maybe Luna's in another dream right now. It's just you that's dreaming this. You never really know.
Twilight, what?
Jigsaw sat up, blearily blinking her eyes into focus.
Ah!
Ooh, this is my girl. This is the best character. Not true, but this Queen is possibly a main villain of the thing. I don't know if you want to take it.
I could take it. I could do another Muppet voice.
Oh, yay.
Sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake.
Came a voice like velvet death. Came a voice like velvet death from beyond the mass of drones.
Twilight sparkle, how kind of you to visit my domain.
The massive changelings parted to reveal the form of Queen Chrysalis, striding lazily forward.
Oh, have I surprised you? I'm terribly sorry.
All right, so I'm going to explain something, actually. You see, Queen Chrysalis, no, I'm not going to explain that, but the sunshine, ladybugs awake thing is what Twilight Sparkle and Princess Cadence did. It was like their thing, They clapped their hooves together and then shook their asses, They went, sunshine, sunshine, ladybugs awake, clap your hooves and do a little shake. That's what they did, right? So when Queen Chrysalis, in her first appearance, as well as Cadence's first appearance, I guess, imitated Cadence and trapped her down in the catacombs of Canterlot, I guess. Queen Chrysalis saw that and was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do here? What on earth is going on? And she was like, whatever, shut up. And that's when Twilight Sparkle found out that her full sitter was a changeling. No, that's not true. That's not when she found it out, but she was like, oh, fuck you, woman. Which, man, what a deep, twist, man, that would have been. Finding out that someone from your childhood is the worst? Damn. That would suck.
Ross, what
As
are
I
you
was
implying?
saying. What? I'm not implying anything. Hey, Wizzy. Anyways. Jigsaw had a death grip around my waist and was trembling from horn to hoof. I stroked her back with a wing and whispered, Everything is going to be just fine. Then I straightened and gave the crowd a sweep of the imperious disapproving glance. And it's got weird bracket, one weird bracket. Bracket?
Yeah, bracket.
Okay, yeah, sure. Before I addressed their queen. Wait, was that just a bracket or is that a weird bracket?
It's like a bold
'Cause
bracket.
it could just be
At least on my screen.
Okay, yeah. And then we got like a do, like a dot, 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 dot. And then the bracket, one bracket again. One of Celestia's, believe it or not. And then is a bunch of dashes. I think we explained this in the previous episode of the Celestia code. You should go check that out. Chrysalis. I narrowed my eyes. Didn't you get my note?
Oh, I most certainly did.
She sneered at me in contempt.
How could you think I would allow such an insult to pass unpunished? By the way, don't try to escape. I've warded this whole area with my magic. You won't be able to teleport an inch.
I thought of several other things I could try, but Chrysalis was very powerful. Depends. And I didn't know what she'd be able to stop. One failure would probably be my last. Your magic? I asked in a polite voice that, nevertheless, managed to convey utter scorn. It doesn't seem to be able to do much about my shield spell.
Oh, yes!
The queen sneered back at me.
You pathetic soft ponies are very good at hiding behind things, aren't you? Well, you'll discover that I am very patient. I can wait until you get too thirsty, tired, and hungry to maintain your shield, and then...
So what are you gonna eat?
Man, I want to eat a donut.
Oh, me too. She just smiled, baring those awful carnivorous fangs.
Twilight.
Jigsaw began, in an urgent whisper. It'll be okay.
No,
I stroked
really
her
gotta
again.
go to the bathroom, Twilight.
I stroked her again, and she fell silent. I didn't take the big bug's word for it. I tried several quick spell tests to determine the extent of the power of her wards. She was right. They were powerful and well wrought. Teleportation was out, and was suddenly increasing the size of the shield. In an effort to mash the changelings against the wall of the library. Oh, they're in the library. Whoops.
Oh.
Forgot about that.
I thought they were just camping out again.
Yeah. Oh, maybe they're like right outside the library or inside the library, which now that I think about it wouldn't be a very good idea because they just lit a fire.
Oh, yeah.
So probably outside, just outside though. The shield moved with me, but the mass of changelings surrounding it could hold it in place by sheer weight of numbers pressing it against it. If I dropped the shield for even an instant, I wouldn't be able to recreate it. It was only because I had already cast it that, oh god, oh fuck. That line of thought led to a more fruitful series of mini-tests. So I couldn't cast any new spells outside the shield, but I can modify one I already had going. If I was clever about it. If I changed the...
Is that the pony you mentioned in the note?
Chrysalis prodded.
Pathetic little thing. It's a wonder you...
Shut up, you overgrown cockroach! Brackets, 2 brackets. I snapped at her. I'm thinking. Then it's got like the dashes again. Brackets, 2 brackets. Oops, forgot about the graciousness is never the wrong choice lesson there. Dashes. She reared back and sputtered for a second before shrieking at me.
Your death will be slow and agonizing, you presumptuous little grub. I'll have your friend ripped apart right in front of you. I'll... What are you doing?
Something I've wanted to try for a while, actually. I said as the shield began to slowly rotate.
You can't escape. Exhaust yourself trying, but...
You are the one who should be worried about escaping. If you start now, I added, more angular momentum to the shield and began to tessellate it. You could get a head start. The shield still operated within the limits Chrysalis's wards had imposed on it. It couldn't expand or change its spherical shape, and it had to remain centered on me. Well, so what? I often find that limits are spurs to creativity. A so-called spherical shield is defined by a formula describing points arrayed around a center. But with the indefinite... There's just a lot of words, ain't it? But with the indefinite number of points required to describe a smooth sphere, the limiting spell couldn't specify any fixed number of points. I was free to alter the number of points as I chose. A tetrahedron is, topologically, identical to a sphere. I levitated Jigsaw and myself until the shield was clear of the floor, then added more vectors of motion to it, as well as a lot more momentum. The shield began to hiss as it spun around. I just added the around, I guess. The shield began to hiss as it spun. A couple of drones tried to shove against the sphere and were flung aside. Fortunately for them, they hadn't tried at that after I reduced the number of defining points to 4. None may enter the orb. When that was done, Jigsaw and I were floating at the center of what was, for all practical purposes, a spherical buzzsaw. Fuck yeah,
Oh,
dude.
Christ.
I began to move us towards Chrysalis, carrying the shield with us. I'm sorry, you didn't take my note seriously, Your Majesty, I told her, having to raise my voice to be heard over the shrieking of the shield's points slicing through the air. The shield contacted a hoof-sized chunk of granite rubble, instantly reducing it to a high-speed spray of sand. It was hard to believe, but Chrysalis's eyes got even bigger.
Heyo.
Up top. High-fiving. I had been riding the high of my own cleverness for a while there, but the thought of what was about to happen made me queasy. Don't look, Jigsaw, I said, and then to Chrysalis, I'm really sorry about this.
I'm sorry I ever doubted you, Twilight.
Please don't kill me. I never saw anything. Jigsaw said as we sat together in the sunlight enjoying a light meal on the steps of the library. Roasted bug.
Yum yum.
You woke up surrounded by a swarm of vicious predators, I replied as I selected an oat roll from the bag. You had every reason to be terrified.
And one big reason not to.
She insisted.
You were there.
Okay, are you trying to sound Texan now?
I don't know.
Like a mix between Irish and Texan?
You were there.
A, that's offensive, but B, no. Stop it.
Get a
Get some
dog,
help.
little longy. Get a
Yeah,
dog.
get that dog. Fuck you, dog. I sighed and put the roll back down. And I'm the reason we were in that mess in the first place. If I had just squashed that changeling like you wanted me to, that would have put an end to it. Like most despots. Chrysalis values her own pride over the lives of her subjects. I should have known my note would goad her into something regrettable.
I'll bet she regrets it. She lost a good piece of her tail before she got away. I'm amazed at how fast she can fly with those flimsy bug wings.
Honestly, don't her wings have holes in them like the rest of her?
Yep.
How does she
pretty
fly
sure.
with them?
Well, she has holes in her legs, too, so it balances out.
Oh, yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. Jigsaw still had no idea how narrowly we had escaped death, and I certainly wasn't going to enlighten her. She'd been through enough. As it was, Chrysalis had locked me down very thoroughly, and if I hadn't come with a structural loophole that depended on knowledge of advanced shield theory, we would have been goners. There was one very important task I needed to complete to avoid another life-threatening situation. I got out my writing things and began to compose another note.
What are you doing?
Jigsaw asked. I'm writing a letter of apology to Queen Chrysalis. I just had to laugh at the completely stunned expression on Jigsaw's face. She nearly fell over backwards.
You're what?
Jigsaw, the whole ambush thing happened because I was angry and trying to be clever when I wrote that note. It wounded Chrysalis's pride and threatened her in a way she couldn't not take seriously. This morning I frightened and embarrassed her in front of her entire swarm. Do you think she's going to crawl back into her hole in the ground and sulk?
Oh, when you put it that way.
Jigsaw's expression turned, thoughtful.
But do you think she will accept an apology and let it go like that? I don't know what the frick
Let it go.
I just cannot keep it together.
The gods are frowning upon you.
No.
That's why you don't do accents. I shook my head. Certainly not with an apology alone.
So...
Let me finish this and I'll explain. Unto HRM Queen Chrysalis of the Changeling Swarm. Warm greetings from HSH Princess Twilight Sparkle of Equestria, your esteemed majesty. I wish to offer my sincere apologies and heartfelt regret for the terrible misunderstanding that I have caused between us. My original letter to you was written in the heat of anger, and its tone and content were reprehensible and unbecoming of a princess of Equestria. Likewise, my actions and words this morning were colored by my emotional turmoil, though I admit that is a poor excuse for my behavior. On sober reflection, I realize I should have treated you with respect due to your station and attempted a diplomatic solution to our differences.
Oh, suffering stars, Twilight.
Jigsaw groaned as she leaned over my shoulder to watch me write.
I think I might throw up.
I flicked the end of her nose with the feather of my quill. Not on the letter, please. I'll have to start all over. I earnestly wish that there be peace and understanding between our people, and to that end, I hope that we can serve as examples for them to follow. I offer my hoof to you in friendship, and in hopes that such a relationship will serve as a guiding light for all of you, for all who know us. Jigsaw, would you please stop making gag noises? Again, I offer my abject apologies for my words and actions, as well as my intrusion into your territory. I am completely and utterly at fault in this matter. And... Jeez Louise. It's a difficult voice to read in when you're not, stopping. I and my assistant have come here on a peaceful scientific expedition, but if you wish us to remove ourselves from your lands, you have only to command it. Yours sincerely, Princess Twilight Sparkle. P.S. As part of our research, early this evening I will be excavating a part of the mountain that is 8 leagues west by north of your Majesty's hive. Please keep any of your subjects well away from the area, as operations of this kind can be dangerous. A safe zone 3 leagues should be sufficient. Also, it would be inadvisable to look directly at the mountain during this time. There we go. Nailed it. Jigsaw wrinkled her nose in confusion.
What's that last bit about?
The indirect stick that goes with the obvious carrot, I said. And a slightly subtle way of telling her that I know exactly where her hive is.
I don't understand.
Let me just make a clean copy of this letter and send it. And I'll explain. Oh, did she throw up on it? Jigsaw. When I had finished the copy, I rolled it up and sealed it.
So?
Jigsaw said, slowly.
Explanation?
I nodded. I know where the Changeling Hive is because, fortunately, Chrysalis poured all her magical power into getting away and let her wards collapse, enabling me to shape the magical spatter from my dismissed shield spell into several tracking spells. It was a random because Chrysalis could detect a directed spell. Not that she was probably concerned with that at the moment, but it took fairly well on a large number of the drones. That's also why I know that there are at least half a dozen of them spying on us at the moment. Jigsaw gave a startled whinny, and her mane stood on end as she looked around at the apparently empty ruins.
Nee! That's my startled whinny noise.
I know.
Holy stars, Twilight! Why didn't you just tell me?
I didn't want you to worry, I explained, and I'll need one to deliver my message. I got out my spyglass and aimed it at a weathered tower a couple of blocks from where we were. The changeling I had detected there ducked out of sight when she saw me swinging the glass towards her, but the tip of her horn was still visible above the wall. I snorted. Chrysalis has got to get herself some better minions. High five. No, we don't have fingers. Damn. I teleported the drone over to where I sat and gave her a moment to get over her panic at suddenly appearing in front of the nasty little pony who had almost shredded her queen. I'm terribly sorry to inconvenience you, I said, but could you please deliver this letter to Queen Chrysalis? I would be very grateful. The drone didn't reply or make a move to take the letter, so I tucked it into one of the holes in her right foreleg. I don't like that. There. Could you please deliver it as soon as possible? It contains some time-sensitive information. I released the drone from my telekinetic grip, and she fled.
Wow.
Jigsaw said.
They are fast little buggers, aren't they?
She dropped the hoof she had been shading her eyes with and turned to me.
Okay, so my accent actually worked very well for that last line. Just saying.
It really did. I want to congratulate you. In fact, I think that Jigsaw was always meant to be Irish now.
Now, what about this excavation thing?
Remember when you were listening to my specialty subjects? You forgot a particular favorite of mine. Astronomy. Jigsaw cocked her head and squinted at me.
Are you trying to confuse me?
I grinned. Maybe just a little bit. Your nose crinkles up in such a cute way when you are puzzled by something. Oh, brother.
The flirting. Oh, Twilight, just kiss her already.
Wizzy, I think we need to see other people.
Ross, you can't break up with me live on air.
Good thing we're not live. She rolled her eyes at me, but I detected a slight blush under her blue coat. Oh, right, she's blue. Point to Twilight. Yes, I will make you mine.
Okay, I kind of just picture her as green most of the time. And I don't know if that's because I just do the Irish accent type of thing for her.
I pictured her as Twilight Sparkle's future student, but a bit different with her hair. That's what I envisioned.
What does Twilight Sparkle's future student look like?
Oh, you know her. I've showed you a video.
Maybe.
I don't know if you can look at the chat, but I'll send it to you.
All right.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
her
God,
future
what?
student.
That's her student?
Yeah,
Did
her future
Pinky
student.
and Sunset, do the do?
No. She did the do with someone else. Had a completely different baby.
That's the child of Pinky and Cheese Sandwich.
Well, she does have that, but that's not the child of Pinky and Cheese Sandwich in the chat.
Man.
That's, theorized by some people, not me particularly, but some people are like, maybe that's Starlight Glimmer and, Sunburst's daughter. I'm not sure
Oh.
you've ever known Sunburst, but quite a few people are to ship Sunburst and Starlight, which I'm on and off with that. I'm like a Starlight Trixie or a Starlight Sunburst kind of guy.
What
You know,
about
I can go
Sunlight
both
and
ways. You know what?
Starburst?
Polyamorous relationship. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I could get
What?
behind that. I said, what about Sunlight and Starburst?
Well,
Like
funny thing
the
about that is that
candy.
Starburst is the ship name.
Oh man, they've already gotten to it. Of course they have. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Because Sunlight was
well,
already taken
and,
by a couple of other ponies.
Yeah, those motherfuckers. Originally, I made the mistake of making a big threat with no evidence to back it up. All talk, no action, right? Now I'm going to do the exact opposite. And here's how I'll do it. No mention of Tyrant Lestia in this chapter, which was very good. Keep that up, please. Chapter 8. The Music of the Spheres. Percussion section. Hold on, let me just... Okay, no, there aren't any other sections of these spherical musics. So I don't get that, but whatever. As night began to fall, I closed my eyes and opened my magical sight, directing it upward. The glowing traceries on the great crystalline spheres beyond the sky resolved themselves to intricate paths and epicycles that defined and controlled the movements of all celestial bodies. The great twin wheels of the sun and moon turned ever so slowly as I watched. I could have easily lost myself in the overwhelming beauty of it all. As I had done several times since my ascension. But I had a job to do, and a very definite time limit in which to do it. I was sure that Celestia and Luna would understand my meddling in their realm when I explained it to them later, but I needed to go undetected for the next couple of hours, which meant I had to get it all over with before sunset. Hey! Sorry. When they would turn their attention to the heavens. If either of the sisters noticed, they would undoubtedly fix my adjustments. I sought out the long, faint curves of the smallest elliptical orbits, sorting and discarding them as I weighed each line for the exact parameters I desired. At last I found what I needed. It was a little bigger and a little farther than what was ideal, but I was resigned to pushing myself. I took hold of the skeins of the tracery and twisted, deforming the orbit of the little chunk of rock until it intersected the planet. I poured magical energy into it until it sped up and the orbit flexed away from where I wanted it. Then I readjusted the orbit and added more velocity. It was a tedious, recursive, and tiring process, getting the rock to arrive at the time and place I wanted. But I eventually did it. I dropped my perceptions back into the normal world and flopped down, not caring that the dust of the plaza was sticking to my sweaty back. Sweat.
Did you do it?
Did you redo it? Jigsaw asked. Yeah, it's done. Whew! I don't know how the sisters managed to keep the sun and the moon going each and every day. I'm exhausted.
How big is it?
Relatively small. About the size of a one-bedroom cottage. Is there any cold tea left? Jigsaw passed me the flask of green tea. It wasn't cold any longer, but I didn't have the energy left to chill it down again.
Leaving aside your definition of small for a moment, do you think it's big enough to have the impact you want?
Impact. Fun joke. I rolled my eyes. But yes, it should be pretty showy. It's the velocity that counts. Kinetic energy scales. It's the square of the velocity. After all, I gave it a whole lot of velocity. Jigsaw opened her mouth to say something, then shut it again, shaking her head. I got up and stretched. We should head over to the edge of the city, where we can see the mountain. We walked slowly for my sake, while I drank more tea and ate a couple of oat rolls to replenish my strength. I picked a spot on the edge of the mesa where the target mountain was clearly visible and a low stone wall gave us cover. This looks good. I squinted upward. 17 minutes until impact. That gives us some time to go over the map. I unrolled the map and studied it quietly for a while. The city was set out in a very orderly fashion, with a large central plaza surrounded by what looked like governmental buildings. There was nothing that looked like a castle or palace, which I found odd. I cleared my throat and pointed at a large building on the central plaza, not too far from the library. I saw this place earlier, and it seemed like a good spot to begin our search. Most of the larger and intact structures are clustered around that area. It's unlikely that the cornucopia would be out in a peripheral residential area, don't you think? I looked up when Jigsaw didn't answer and saw her gazing at the mountain on the horizon, shuffling her hooves nervously. Hey, I asked you a question. I asked quietly. Are you okay? She sighed and turned her head to face me.
Yeah, I'm okay. It's just that today has been, and continues to be, a bit scary. For a lot of reasons. I think I may be out of my own league here. I don't know what...
Oh,
so we're trying to...
nonsense.
Australian.
Oh, yeah, crikey. Didgeridoos and what not have yous.
The heck?
I rolled up the map and put it away. I moved into the shelter of the wall and lay, gesturing for Jigsaw to join me. Jigsaw, you're my friend. A very good friend. And I will not let anything happen to you. I promise. Mostly. She lowered herself next to me and nodded.
Yes, I believe you. After this morning's demonstration and that...
She tossed her head, indicating the mountain.
I'm pretty sure that the heavens themselves couldn't save any pony who made you mad. And that's part of why I want to marry you.
She didn't say want to marry you. Willie's just Willie? I just called you Willie. Wizzy's just being a sizzy little boy.
Sounds like a mix of Wizzy and Silly.
Yes. It was on purpose. That's it.
Yeah. You didn't just jumble over your words. Ross, come on, we gotta be professional here.
I'm not professional. I'm not even a good person. Anyways. Wait, where was I? Oh, right. I waited for her to go on, and several times it looked as if she would. But then she would sigh and look away, silently. Do you want to go home? I asked her. I can teleport us in stages and have you back in Canterlot in...
No, it's not that.
I waited again, but she remained silent. After a while, I said her name and waited for her to look at me. When she did, I said, Trust me. You can tell me what's wrong, and I won't laugh or dismiss you. I care about you very much, and I hate seeing you upset. Her lips quivered, and her eyes glistened, but she didn't say anything. Please? I urged. She took a deep breath, then leaned forward and kissed me full on the mouth.
That's actually in the lines. Ross isn't even making that up. Oh my god, what's happening?
Oh my god. There it is, boys. There it is. That was not consensual?
Well, Ross.
But we'll let it slide this time, I suppose.
That would ruin the romance.
a very deep look into Twilight's psyche right now, so she probably needed that anyways. I could use a kiss right now. Anyways. let's just go on. And the world disappeared in a burst of radiant light. No, really, that wasn't a metaphor. The whole plaza lit up brightly, and I couldn't see a thing but white. My little message to Chrysalis had arrived. When the light died away enough, the first thing I saw was Jigsaw's face with... No, I'm sorry, but the expression she wore was utterly indescribable. I assume my own face was much the same. Avoidance is a wonderful coping mechanism, and it was fortunate that we had a very good excuse to not talk about what had just happened. We stood and turned to look out over the desert. I've seen a lot of terrifying things in my life, but watching that roiling bulb of fire... Is roiling a word? Oh well. Bulb of fire rise over the shattered mountain topped them all. Cold equations just couldn't prepare me for the reality of a major meteor strike. Fuck. I think I used a little too much velocity, I whispered. I levitated us off the pavement to avoid the ground shockwave, and grimaced as the old ruins around us shook and crumbled even more. Then I cast a shield spell to protect us from the air blast that followed, which wasn't so bad but surprisingly loud. We watched in awe as the gigantic explosion evolved. The rocky debris rained down on the surrounding desert, and the cloud of fire rose and cooled until it was just an enormous mass of smoke and ash, distorted by the high-altitude winds. The heat of the impact site kept dust and smoke flowing upward in a thick column for a long while afterward. I hope I never, ever have to do something like that again, I said, my voice shaking.
You can do something like that.
Jigsaw's quiet voice came from slightly behind me and to my left.
And yet it horrifies you. That's just one of the reasons why I love you.
Oh, that. Damn. But I had to face it sometime. Jigsaw. I didn't turn to face her. We should go back to the library. It will be dark soon, and we should talk. I wanted time to think, but Jigsaw started to talk while we walked.
I had a dream about you last night.
She began. Non-committal. That was best.
I thought I'd be having nightmares about that changeling, but instead, you were with me. Though I thought Princess Luna was there for part of it too. Oh my god.
Middling. Fucking motherfucker. Piece of shit. Fuck you, Luna. I grumbled under my breath.
But mostly, the dream was about you.
Jigsaw continued, not having heard me. She sighed.
It was a wonderful dream.
What a wonderful world.
Chrysalis, what'd you get here?
Oh, God. Louis Armstrong and Kermit the Frog do sound quite similar, don't they?
I see trees of green, red roses too.
No, I can't sing Rainbow Connection in a Louis Armstrong voice. I'll just go to Kermit. I didn't reply. What could I possibly say to that? After a few seconds, Jigsaw stopped walking, and I turned my head to face her. Whatever. She had her head down in a submissive pose, but was looking up at me. The setting sun had turned the explosion's cloud into a smear of blood on the sky behind her.
My god.
Blood gushing.
Twilight?
She was blushing. I could see it in the dim light. Even behind that blue coat of hers.
Oh.
Yes.
I'd very much like to kiss you again.
Stare down a changeling storm? Yeah, I could do that. Blow up a mountain, no problem. But face a mare with a serious crush on me? I panicked. Now, most ponies who know me will tell you I can sometimes get the teensiest bit crazy when I'm pushed beyond my comfort zone. Frenetic might be a better word, but I also have another panic mode. Petrification. They're both related in that they share a common effect. My brain stops working properly. Jigsaw lifted her head and stepped forward. I didn't move.
Twilight,
I didn't move.
don't you want to?
I could see the tears start to well up in her eyes. Yep, I've been there, girl. It hurts, man. Actually, I haven't been there. Ha!
Only me when I'm advancing toward Ross.
Literally, I have made the only advancements in this relationship. And it hurts, man. No, I'm kidding. I only jokingly.
He plays
Wizzy,
with
I'm
my
sorry,
heart
not
all
me
the
too.
time.
Yeah. I don't regret it. Oh, Sun and Moon, she deserved better of me than that. I forced myself to speak. Jigsaw, you are one of the most beautiful and intelligent mares I know. She dropped her gaze, and the tears began to spill down her cheeks.
But
She said flatly. I went to her and wrapped my forelegs and wings around her. I didn't bother telling her not to cry. I wasn't that stupid. You are athletic and clever, I whispered to her. Oh, sorry. You are athletic and clever, I whispered to her as she sobbed. You have an wicked sense of humor and a set of talents that I honestly envy. I hugged her tightly and lay my cheek on top of her head, behind her horn. You are a mare in a million. She sniffed and sighed.
But you don't want me.
I do want you. That I don't know if you heard that clap, but it was supposed to sound like a slap.
Now you're hitting
The joke
me.
is that
How could you, Twilight?
did Jigsaw turn into Irish Ringo Starr?
Yeah.
I interrupted her forcefully. I want you as a colleague and an advisor and a traveling companion and a dear, dear friend. I leaned back and lifted her muzzle up with a wingtip until she was looking at me. If I was into bears, I'd never let you out of my sight.
Baby, you're my forever girl.
But I'm not gay, so get your hand out of my pants.
What's that?
That's Stephen Lynch. If I were gay,
If I
could
were
make some
gay.
very offensive songs.
If
But they're
you
funny.
were gay, that'd be okay. That's the only one I can remember.
Alrighty then. When she smiled, she looked worlds better. Red, wet eyes, runny nose, and all. There was only one bit of comfort I could offer. Come on, let's get back to the library and I'll make us some tea. Fortunately, the library hadn't suffered from the shockwave. I spent a bit of time fusing stone blocks, shifting rubble, and otherwise making sure the building wouldn't fall apart during the night. I also cast 2 shield spells around us, one inner and one outer. With a few additional properties woven into the spells, I was fairly sure my egregious display of force would make Chrysalis think twice before attacking us again. But I wasn't going to take any chances. Jigsaw helped me a bit, both of us pretending to be more relaxed and happy than we actually were, and we settled in for the night with our bedrolls nearby but facing each other. I briefly wondered if there was some sort of accepted geometry things to reflect the exact nuance of the relationship of any 2 ponies, but then I'm like that. Luna silently gestured with a wingtip at the broken, smoldering mountain of the horizon. I had a bad day, I explained.
My sister and I are a bit concerned, Twilight.
Sorry for messing with the celestial mechanisms, but I really needed to. Everything is fine now. Well, except for your dog. Oh, I'm kidding. It wasn't your dog. Luna looked up from where she was making swirls in the smoke with her wingtip. Aw. The mountain had evidently shrunk to the size of a pony, or Luna had grown. It was hard to tell in Dream.
Yes?
Oh, this sounds melodramatic, but I think I broke Jigsaw's heart.
She is young and strong-minded, Twilight. I believe she will mend quickly. These were decisions that were best made quickly.
What was there to decide? I'm not gay. That's what they all say.
Before Jigsaw turns them.
Luna scooped up some of the bigger fragments of the mountain and dumped them into the crater. She didn't reply, just a glance back at me over her shoulder and twitched her mouth just so. Luna can be infuriatingly elliptical sometimes. I took the mountain away from her and put it back on the horizon where it belonged. Her fiddling with it was distracting. You could just straight out tell me what you mean.
Such things are hardly ever black and white, and the language of dreams does not tend to itself to directness. Lend, not tend.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I wasn't going to mention it. 'Cause that would be mean, wouldn't it, Wizzy?
No.
Slices of cheese began to fall from the sky. They melted as they hit the ground and started to form puddles. The stars in Luna's mane became little chopped bits of mushrooms, onions, and bell pepper, and fell into the cheese puddles. No, stop it.
When I walk in dreams, do you know what I encounter much more often than fear?
She turned fully to face me and mantled her wings, filling my vision. She leaned forward and said one word in a long, drawn-out whisper.
Cheese. Desire.
So yes, cheese.
Yeah.
I woke up with a craving for pizza.
That's what she got from the dream.
Yep. Yeah! The morning was awkward, but not nearly as awkward as it might have been. Jigsaw and I were used to the camp routine and went about things quietly and efficiently. We even approximated something good like spirits. The big building first, I said, tapping the map with the feather end of my quill. Don't you think? Jigsaw nodded.
Yes, definitely. Depending on its condition, we might have some time for one or two others today.
Your Majesty? Came a hesitant voice from the doorway to the street. Jigsaw flinched, and I involuntarily lifted my horn for an instant. In the doorway stood one of the changeling officers. I'm not sure of the ranks they use, but she was wearing blued steel armor. I stood and faced her. The proper usage is, Highness. What can I do for you? The changeling bowed. Please forgive me, Your Highness. I bear a message from my queen. I cautiously lowered the outer shield and slipped through the inner one. Leaving Jigsaw behind, I approached the changeling close enough to loom over it a bit. Yes? She produced a roll of something like paper from a tube at her side. I took it in my magic and unrolled it. There was no greeting or preamble. The message was only 3 lines, and it read,
Apology accepted. Your proposal might have some merit. I will consider it. Refrain from any further excavations in my realm.
Signed, C. I smiled. I had acquired a completely new perspective since becoming a princess, and I now had a lot more sympathy for Chrysalis than I had a few years ago. That didn't mean I didn't enjoy winning. But at least I could be gracious about it, i.e. none whatsoever. Oh. Wait a minute. Oh, I get it now.
What?
The bracket, one bracket. That means, like, a lot more, it reads like this. And I now had a lot more sympathy for Chrysalis than I had, i.e. none whatsoever. That's like a footnote or something.
Like a
at the end of a
friggin',
paragraph.
citation?
Yes, citation, that's the word.
Okay.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to go back and figure some things out. That makes so much more sense now. Whew. We don't need them. Please give Her Majesty my thanks and my assurance that there will be no further disturbances of the sort that occurred last evening. Yes, Your Highness. The changeling bowed and turned to go. On a sudden impulse, I stopped her. Your people are very well acquainted with the motion of love, aren't they? With the helmet and chitinous face, it was impossible to tell if the changeling was puzzled by my question or not, but she sounded cautious when she answered. Yes, Your Highness? The love of friends, close friends, is it different than the sort between, the lovers, weaker, or, I don't know, different? The changeling didn't answer for a moment. Then she said, It's usually different, Your Highness, to varying degrees. It's often weaker, but can be stronger. She paused for a longer time, and I thought she had finished what she had to say when she added, Please forgive me if I offend you, Your Highness, but I find it is no less nourishing. Yum, yum. I wasn't offended. Maybe a little bit squicked. It isn't nourishment in the sense you mean it, but I find the presence of my friends strengthens me in a way. I paused, and the changeling waited attentively for me to go on. I wasn't sure if I was crazy or not, but I went with my immediate feelings. So please tell Her Majesty that my offer of friendship was completely sincere. I am willing to meet with her and to try to get to know her, and to try to get to know each other. Perhaps a true friendship would be better than one based on deception, and mutually beneficial. At least I think it's worth finding out, if it's possible. I trailed off lamely. At least we should talk. I will convey your message, Your Highness. Thank you. The changeling bowed and departed. Jigsaw was showing me how to use an enhancement spell to bring out the faint letters carved into the doors of the large building we had chosen for our first search when I heard a changeling approaching. It was the same officer I had spoken to earlier. She landed and bowed. Your Highness, I have another message from Her Majesty. I expected her bow to be perfunctory, as it had been when we first met, but she remained kneeling. Please rise, I said. She did so. Her Majesty wishes me to thank Your Highness for Your Highness's word this morning, and to give Your Highness Her Majesty's assurance that Her Majesty is intrigued by Your Highness's proposal, and will formally contact Your Highness to arrange a meeting. It took me a second to parse all the majesties and highnesses.
Me too.
I grinned. Tell Chrysalis that Twilight Sparkle is delighted. Yes, Your Highness. She pulled another roll of not-quite paper out of the carrying tube and held it out to me. Her Majesty also wishes me to deliver this to Your Highness. Unlike the one in the morning, this scroll was sealed with a hard glob of greenish substance.
Yeah.
I broke the seal and unrolled it. The scroll read,
Be cautious. The city has killed many and driven others mad. See.
See?
See, I told you.
told ya. All right, so that was the Celestia Code, chapters 7 and 8.
I think these are some of the
Sorry,
best
I wasn't
so far.
as but you know. But yes, I really like these chapters.
Specifically, I feel like I believe it was the other one that had that. Was it the last chapter that had the kiss and everything, or was that this chapter?
I think that was this chapter. At least it should have been this chapter.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
was it?
yeah, it should have been.
Okay, then both chapters were great.
Yeah.
I think that this one was a little bit more boring, but nope. They both had great, exciting moments that made me fall
Yeah.
even more in love with these characters.
Indeed, and I love these characters. You know, they're great.
Twilight better watch out, because I might just kiss Jigsaw myself.
Ooh. But yeah. Not much mystery to unravel in these past few chapters. Not much mystery being unraveled. It's more of just like light conversation between characters or
Yeah,
killing Queen Chrysalis. You know, good stuff.
it's more character development and introduction, but it's done really well. Still very
Yeah.
entertaining, despite the lack of the mystery decoding and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
And little to no mention of Tyrant Celestia, which is always a plus.
I was confused by
As we
one
all
part
know.
though.
Yes, sir.
Twilight said that she wanted the changeling to call her Your Highness, but I thought she preferred to be called Mistress.
Heyo!
So everyone, tell us what you think in the comments, or don't. I don't care. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. I have been your host, the one above all, Ross Pitt, and that guy was Wizzy.
Bye!
The recording has begun.
Wizzy has about to come to an end.
That was worded very poorly.
You're worded very, I hate your hair.